I truly believe that regenerative farming seems to be the clearest solution to this overproduction of coffee and the method of monoculture that a lot of farms are using that ultimately is going to burn them in the end. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Actually Good Coffee Podcast, the show where we talk about all things coffee related, all while I drink a cup of coffee. Today I am drinking a new single origin that we're going to be bringing on the next couple of weeks. The tasting notes that I have are white grape, Prosecco, and rose hip. If you don't know what rose hip is, it's kind of like a fruit. You can also look it up. If you can guess which origin that I'm drinking right now, I'll actually send you a free bag. So you can DM me at Really Good Coffee Reviews or Made in Coffee. We look at both, and I'll send you a free 12-ounce bag on the house. All right. Right now is kind of a weird time because every country has their own shipping and harvesting season, but right now is when a lot of countries actually line up. Places like Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Sumatra. I think I saw Indonesia too. Don't quote me on that. So we've been tasting a lot of coffees lately, and I am definitely pretty excited about this one. The numbers. The amount of coffee that we sold this past week is 678 pounds. If we're looking at last year's same week, we sold 657 pounds of coffee total. Now, because it's the end of the month, I'm going to give you the grand total for the month of April. On average, we sold 616 pounds of coffee. For this year, we sold, on average, per week, 682 pounds of coffee. That is fantastic news, all right? If you do not grow, you die, speaking from a business perspective. I also think that applies to personal life as well, but I digress. We're not going to talk about emotions and deep intrinsical thought for today's episode. We're actually going to talk about coffee. I know, crazy. I'm just as surprised as you all are. And today's topic is synthetic coffee. So what is synthetic coffee? When I say synthetic, I don't mean lab-grown meat that is already being banned in some countries. No. What I'm talking about is more of a replacement for coffee. And in the words of Christopher Mims from the Wall Street Journal, he says that the world drinks 2 billion cups of coffee today. You'll soon have human-made alternatives. So what are these human-made alternatives? Well, what he provides as an example are coffees made from Raymond seeds or Ramon seeds or date seeds. Now, I've actually made an episode on date seed coffee. If I didn't post it, I'm not really sure if I actually posted it, but if I didn't, then it speaks for itself because it's really not that good. He mentions that when he has it mixed with oat milk, he actually feels that it's indistinguishable from coffee made from traditional beans. The espresso straight up was a bit different. As I raised it to my nose, I detected a bouquet that included familiar notes, chocolate, vanilla, toast, as well as the unexpected turmeric and cumin, perhaps. I don't feel that way about date seed coffee. Some people might. Do I think that this is going to be the solution for the overproduction of coffee that may be the end of the world? No, I don't. That is where I will actually direct you to a different article, one that was posted by Sprudge Special Projects Desk, supported by La Marzocco. If you don't know La Marzocco, they're one of the biggest names in the coffee industry. This article is titled Regenerative Agriculture in Coffee, the Promise of True Sustainability. So what is regenerative farming? So because of the overproduction of coffee in the last few decades, this means that farmers are moving towards monoculture, which results in a less healthy soil and lower crop yield. Monoculture is growing one plant on one land at one time, and ultimately it is destroying the biodiversity and health of the soil long term. It really sets these guys up for failure, and it's tough right now because they're trying to feed their families, they're trying to make money. I get it, I understand. So it's this idea that you are making your farm as productive as possible, but you're actually doing more damage to it in the long run. So what is the solution? It's this idea that you are adding multiple different types of crops, and because of this, you're actually creating a healthier biodiversity within the soil that is actually going to be giving you a higher yield per plant. So coffee, for the most part, is actually a shade plant. What does that mean? It means that in order to grow coffee, you're going to need to keep it out of indirect sunlight. The solution to that is to grow it with trees. In the words of Helison Alfonso, I'm sorry if I said your name incorrectly, he uses cover crops to improve organic matter that's ultimately build an environment within the soil that is a source of nutrients for fungi, Trichoderma, Bacillus, I can't say this, and other microorganisms. What he's worried about actually is other farmers who use the term regenerative, but just plant a cover crop here and there and use a special biofertilizer. If I was a betting man, I would guess this is actually the problem with organic certifications. I've talked about this a little bit on Made in Coffee before. I haven't gone into much detail about it. The problem when you create these specifications is that people are going to find loopholes to maximize their profit as much as possible. So they're going to do the bare minimum to continue to receive this certification for as long as possible. The reason, again, why I like regenerative farming is because it really seems to have the most involvement to improve the health of the actual farm itself long term. I also think this hits another bird with the same stone when we're talking about the deforestation-free regulation that the EU has implemented on products that they import for their citizens to consume. So, if you don't know about this is a recent regulation the EU has implemented, and I cannot imagine that coffee roasters in Europe are too thrilled about this one, because if you do know a little bit about coffee, it's a shade crop, so you would actually be contributing to the reforestation rather than deforestation. I know for some farms it doesn't mean the same, because again, when you are getting into commercial coffee specifically, you are creating mass lots of product that could contribute to the deforestation. But I personally believe that commercial coffee is the devil, and I think that doing this type of regenerative techniques is at least where I would like to take Made in Coffee in the future. Ultimately, when we have our own farm and we are supplying our own product from the source. Another farmer named Felipe Kroc, sorry if I'm botching your name, he believes that their pledge is beyond organic or sustainable. Says that sustainability is giving back the land in the same condition it was given to us, and we believe this is no longer sufficient. We need to turn it better than it was when we first touched it. Again, attributing this idea that it's not enough to just simply make your farm quote unquote sustainable or organic. These practices do have loopholes. It's not sufficient enough to attribute to the long-term health of the farm itself. And by doing these regenerative farming techniques, you can actually remove a lot of these now commonplace practices that farmers need to do to substitute that method regenerative farming can do organically. The regenerative coffee farming movement can be a beneficial tool in that it brings up important matters for discussion, such as topsoil health, cover crops, biodiversity, water supply, and its effects on our culture and environment as a species sharing a planet. So in closing, I truly believe that regenerative farming seems to be the clearest solution to this overproduction of coffee and the method of monoculture that a lot of farms are using that ultimately is going to burn them in the end. Thank you guys for listening. I always appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you very soon.